Hello, everybody. It is so good to see you. It is Wednesday, and I always say that it's a wonderful Wednesday, and I'm so happy that you have joined us. We're here for the power of transformation. And just like we say every Wednesday, the show is based on the scripture Romans 12 and 2, where we're encouraged to be transformed by the renewing of our mind. This is an opportunity for people to come in and talk to us. And man, do we have some great discussions, right? So, tonight we have another great guest, another great discussion. And I'm going to tell you to do the same thing that we do every week. I want you to text your friends, I want you to tag them. And I want you to tell them that the power of transformation broadcast is on, and they certainly do not want to miss it. And I'm going to do the same thing. I'm going to tag my friends, and if I have time, give them a call and let them know we're on because we have wonderful news and wonderful conversations planned for tonight. All right, you do it, I will do it, and I'm going to see you real soon.
Pond 5. Pond 5.
So we're back. Did you get all your texting and your tagging and your phone calls made? I hope so. Well, when we decided to do this show, I sat down and relaxed and said, God, who do you want me to invite on the show? And I got my sticky notes and I placed them on my wall. And this young lady's name was one of the first ones that was on the wall. And worked and we got her in. And I'm so excited about having attorney Rhonda Kelly here tonight. And again, I go, I wish I had an applause track, but I'm going to do it myself because she has a passion, and her passion said, I have a passion for ensuring that God's people are properly represented. That is an amazing thing. And we're going to have attorney Rhonda Kelly come in and talk about this passion and the ways in which she properly represents God's people. Hello, attorney Kelly.
Hello, it's good to
Hello.
see you.
It's good to see you too. Welcome to our broadcast. I'm so happy that you're here. As I said, you were one of the first sticky notes, probably the yellow one. And I said, I'm going to keep trying to connect with her because you have been described as being one of the best attorneys ever.
Well,
And
that is
that
a blessing.
it is, and that you take such good care of people. And we need that. So I want to talk. We're going to chat about this. What made you decide to be the attorney that represents God's people?
Well, this passion actually started when I was 7 years old. So, when I was seven, I knew I wanted to be an attorney. And so that drive actually came from my great aunt. She waited until she was like in her 70s before she decided to go to law school. She went to Howard's Law School. She graduated, she passed the bar, and then she spent the rest of her life defending people. She was suing the government who were, doing the wrongs to the people. And I said, you know what? That is cool. I want to do that. When I grow up, I want to help right the wrongs and protect the people. So that was something I said I wanted to do. However, it was the summer right before I started undergrad. And as you know, college is not free.
Mm,
So I had to get a job. But I didn't want to flip burgers or do anything like that. So what I did is I started working at a bank. And I worked at that bank through the breaks and everything for undergrad. And so when the time came for me to graduate from undergrad, it was easier to just roll right into banking. And so that's what I did.
hmm,
I started in the financial services branch as assistant branch manager, loan officer, and I was in the branch for about 5 years. After that period of time, I then moved into the training department where I became a regional training manager. And I supervised a group of 14 trainers in four different states. And so as I was driving one day to go visit one of my trainers. I was talking to God in the car because, that's what I do when I'm driving long distances by myself. I just have conversation with God.
Mhm.
And so as I was talking to him, he said, I haven't forgot what you want because I still want to be an attorney. He said, I haven't forgotten what you want, but I need you to bloom where you're planted. And I said, okay, great. I can do that. So I just kept going right along. And then he led me to take the LSAT, which is the entrance exam for law school. He told me to just take the test. He didn't tell me to apply to school, but just to take the test. So I took the test and I just held on to my scores. And a few years later, the bank that I was working for, another merger was announced. And I had been through multiple mergers, but this was like a major merger. And so I was walking at the track at lunch. I was at the Y and I was walking the track and I was having a conversation with God because, that's what I do when I'm walking at the track at lunch. And, he said, I guess we need to talk about this merger. And I said, yeah, we should talk about this merger. And he said, what do you want? Well, I had to pause because, when God asks you what you want to ask for the right stuff.
That's right.
So I said, this is what I would like to do. I said, I would like to take a break and then I would like to go to law school. And so I wanted to take a break because, life just kind of was life in this, as it says today. I graduated from undergrad. 2 weeks after that, I got married. 2 weeks after that, I started working. And then, just life just goes on. You have kids, you're doing all those different things. So I said, I want to take a break because I'd seen on TV about that stay-at-home mom who gets to do the carpool and, participate in all these after-school activities. I said, that looks fun, but I only want to do it for a year. So I was like, let's take a break. I just want to take a break and then go to law school. And God said, okay. And I said, that's it? I don't have to do anything? He said, nope. So sometime after that, my supervisor came into my office and she was in tears. And she said, oh, I'm so sorry. There's no job for you in the new company. And I said, praise God. Give me my severance and let me go because I am going to law school. Now, see, here's the thing. I forgot what I asked God for. So I had my handy dandy scores in my hand because, he told me to take the LSAT. And so I went to undergrad at Carolina. And I applied at Carolina, and Carolina said, no, thank you. We don't want you. And I said, excuse me. So then someone said, well, had you thought about Central's Law School? And I said, well, no, I hadn't really thought about Central. So I applied at Central's Law School, and Central didn't say, no, we don't want you. But what they said was, your scores are too old. So we need you to retake the LSAT, and then we'll see you next year. So I did. In October, I took the LSAT. I want you to know that in November, I went to open house at Central's Law School and sat right there in the room where the man said that they took scores that were in that same time frame as my score. So even when I forgot what I had asked God for, that's what he did. He still gave me what I wanted. I had that break, went to law school and graduated from Central's Law School, and then ended up opening my own practice. So that's the progress. What was interesting, though, is that in going through that process, even in law school, when I started, I thought I knew what I wanted to do. Again, I was basing it on my great aunt and all the things that she had done. But once I got into law school, I was able to see there were so many different options that were available. And I migrated towards family law because too often we see families that are in a state of turmoil. And to have an attorney that is basing their practice on the principles of God make a difference. I've interacted with a lot of people, and people run their practices and do their representation the way they choose to. But it makes a difference when you have someone that's going to base their things on Christian principles. So as I went through law school, I really knew that I was supposed to be in family law. I look at it as an opportunity to minister to the whole person. And so I do things a little differently. When I'm talking with clients, even at that initial consultation, if they're talking with me like about a divorce, one of the first questions I'll ask them is, if you could go to counseling and your spouse would stop doing whatever it is that is working your nerves, would you be talking to me today? If they say no, then I say, you know what? Go work on your marriage and then come see me if it doesn't work, but at least try.
Wow.
And the reason for that is because it's important to make sure that if it's a chance to save a relationship,
Hmm.
then you do that. And I've told people this before, and some people are like, "Well, why do you do that? If you send them to go and work on their marriage, then they might get back together, and then you won't have clients." But God has proven Himself faithful throughout this entire period of time that I have been in practice. There's not been any lack. He sends the clients that need to be there. If there are clients that leave, or they can't adjust to the fact that there are certain things that I will not do or that I will not represent for, He always sends somebody else by. And so I know that I am where He wants me to be.
Right.
And so I look at it from that perspective as a ministry, but also I do have bills to pay. So,
Absolutely.
then I go get it for free. I'm still gonna charge. But just having a different perspective, I think really, really changes some things.
That ministry piece that you just said,
Hmm.
my heart just warms because having someone care
Hmm.
in that way would make me and anybody talking to you feel differently about attorneys.
Hmm.
That
Hmm.
you care and
Hmm.
that you're inspiring me to do the right thing.
Hmm. Hmm.
I just think it's amazing, and I hear you,
Hmm.
and I hear that there's something about your personality that
Hmm.
must make people feel really calm.
And that is a key point, especially in family law.
Mhm.
In family law, you have people who may be at one of the lowest points of their lives. They're getting ready to change the structure and the nature of the family unit that they have had for quite some time in some cases. I've dealt with people who've been married for 20, 30 years and their marriages are ending. I've also dealt with some people who've only been together for a year.
Mhm.
But it's especially important when children are involved
Right.
because it's a new normal for those children who are used to both parents being there. And now all of a sudden it's a difference. So you have to have a certain degree of compassion. However, you have to balance that with the fact that you have to have a wholeness as an attorney. A
Right.
family law attorney cannot take on the issues of their clients. You'll burn out too quickly. And that's what happens to a lot of people in this particular industry, whether they are, faith based, whether they claim to be Christians or anything. Burnout is real. And
Mhm.
it comes into place when you begin to take on that. And so you've got to have some sort of balance in place so that you don't get caught in that. Some of the challenges that I've had to maneuver is when clients know that I am faith based. And that's even to the point of when we start our consultations, we're going to pray. And I tell my clients that that's what I do. I pray unless someone has an issue with that. And
Mhm.
I've had a few clients that were like, no, 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 I don't need any prayer. And I pray for them silently. They just don't know because they need extra special prayer. Um,
Yes.
you start off that way. So then sometimes clients get a little confused and they think not only am I to talk with them about their legal issues, but also I'm supposed to speak with them about their spiritual issues. Yes, I am a minister. Yes, I could do that. But no, no, you have hired me as legal counsel. So oftentimes I have to tell people, okay, look, that sounds like a conversation you need to have with your pastor.
Mhm.
So I can't help you with that. I can only help you with the legal ramifications. Now, yes, we're going to allow God to direct us when we're
Mhm.
going into court and whenever we're doing. But no, 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 that's a spiritual matter. You need to talk to your pastor about that one. That's not me. Um, but to know that and to have that balance, and you have to be able to shut it down at a certain point in time, as it relates to not getting burned out and having that work-life balance. As I mentioned, law is a second career for me. I was in financial services for 18 years
Mhm.
before I went
Mhm.
to law school. And so I was in that group, which I called in law school the grown people, because we weren't searching. We knew what it was that we needed to do. When I was in law school, I had to treat it as if it was a job because I knew that at a certain point in time, I hit mama mode. And that's when I'm taking kids to sports practices or to dance class, or I have this to do at the house or whatever it is. So I had a certain period of time. And
Mhm.
you got to learn how to juggle those things. And I really think that's where faith kind of comes in as well, because God will give you some guidance and direction and let you know how to get things organized so that you're not burned out and so that you can take whatever time is necessary. I also knew that I had to work for myself, that I
Hmm.
couldn't work for anybody else because I've got a lot of things going on in my life. And if I decide I need to take off because I'm going to a church conference, I don't need to get anybody's permission because, I'm an attorney and I work for myself and I'll do what I need to do. If I need to leave early because my kids are involved in something and I want to be involved in that, I need to do that. Work life balance is critical for me. I tell people all the time, I say, look, I take a good 6 to 8 weeks vacation over the year because whether I'm going to conferences, whether I'm participating in different things, or if it's time that I'm just going to be away with my family to do something just for us, I'm going to have that break, and I let my clients know. And until I think it was about maybe 5 years ago, I finally inserted that my schedule was going to change throughout the week so that on Fridays my office closes early. So then I have that afternoon that if I need to do something personal, I can, or if I just need to catch up administratively, I can do that as well. So you've got to make sure that what you're doing, you have that balance there so that you can take care of your whole person. Otherwise, you're not going to be any good to anyone.
It makes sense. It makes
Hmm.
a lot of sense. And what you just said was so important. Your passion is your passion. Part of your passion and your relationship with God is, and then you need to understand that you need to take care of yourself.
Hmm.
You need to take care of your family.
Hmm.
That's a part of the whole package deal. That's
Hmm.
just a part of the responsibility that you've embraced. And I
Hmm.
love that. I wish I could have you repeat it. I guess, when we look at it again, we'll repeat that. People need to understand their responsibility in self care,
Hmm.
no
Hmm.
matter what the profession.
Oh yeah,
What it is.
absolutely.
They need to understand that that is your responsibility and your job
Hmm.
to not burn out because you're not taking care of yourself. How
Hmm.
can you service other people if you burned?
Hmm. Hmm. Absolutely. And it's even a similar conversation that I have sometimes with clients because you may have someone that is devoting so much of their time to like taking care of the kids or dealing with all of these different situations in their new normal, that I remind them, look, your kids need a whole mama or they need a whole daddy. So if that means that you need to take some time, go to counseling, talk to somebody, go to the gym, do whatever's necessary for you to take care of yourself,
Mm.
because your children are going to benefit from you and your self-care, because that's going to allow you to be able to pour more out. It's often said it's very difficult to pour into others from an empty pitcher. So
Okay.
you have to make sure that there are times when you are getting filled, and whatever that looks like for you.
Hmm.
I mean, for me, when I can, I still haven't been able to maneuver that yet, but there was a period of time when I got up early in the morning and I went to the gym, and that was my time to prepare myself because
Hmm.
I felt like I would be a better wife, mother, attorney, person in general if I could just go and have that time in the morning where I could go to the gym. And so sometimes I still get that opportunity to do it, but life changes. So it might be, we just got a dog about a year and a half ago. And so my time of exercising now may be in the afternoons when I get home and we're taking our, 1 or 2 mile walk. And that might be my opportunity then. But you've got to find out what works best for you and take advantage of it.
Take advantage of it. And that's why people brag about you so much, because that's not just being advice from an attorney. That's the ministerial piece. That's all of it wrapped up
Hmm.
together.
Hmm.
I'm loving this. I'm loving
Hmm.
this. I
Hmm.
want to ask you a question though. I don't want to forget this part because I
Hmm.
think now I understand why people say you are the greatest. You don't have a lot of attorneys who really care about your soul,
Hmm.
or care about relationships, or care about you being burned out.
Hmm.
I
Hmm.
haven't heard that being part of their job description.
Hmm.
So I'm very excited about that. But one of the things I did read on your website was how
Hmm.
you are a mediator.
Yes, yes. Yeah. So one of the things I talked a little bit about things that I discovered when I was in law school. So when I went into law school, the only concept that I had for dealing with family law matters was what I had seen on TV or I had heard people who went and had to fight to the death in court. When I got to Central, I discovered a concept called alternate dispute resolution.
Mm.
And one of the things that I also received in addition to my JD was a certification in alternate dispute resolution. And what that involved is going through learning skills for negotiation, mediations, even plea bargaining if you were going to work with criminal cases, those types of things. But finding some way outside of fighting about stuff in court. And when I heard about a concept called collaborative divorce, it was mind blowing. I said, "What? You can do a divorce and settle all those things without fighting in court? What in the world?" And it was that concept that, at least with collaborative divorce, it's one of those things where everyone agrees, oh, we're not going to court. Yes, we have property to split. Yes, we have to make some decisions about what's going to happen with the kids, but we are going to sit around the table, all of us, and we're going to figure out what we need to do. We're going to call in experts if we need to call in experts to help us to make this decision. But that's what we're going to do. And so that really opened up my eyes to using alternate dispute resolution options to settle issues. And one of the things that I tell my clients from the very beginning, and it's even in my contract, that my firm is a believer in negotiation, that my firm is a believer in alternate dispute resolution. So I will try to negotiate up until the time we have to stand in front of the judge. And that has to be something that my clients are okay with. Sometimes they are, and sometimes they aren't. And when they aren't, that's when we have to to separate. Um, so that's one aspect of like the mediation or alternate dispute resolution. The other component is the faith-based mediations, and that is tied to the scripture that talks about the fact that believers should not be fighting about their issues in court. Instead, there needs to be another resolution that is there. And so, one of the things that I did as part of my project for my certification in alternate dispute resolution is I did a project where it talked about how to incorporate mediation in faith based organizations. And I had an opportunity to interact with several different types of denominations to say, what do you do when you have a dispute? And I was amazed at how many that I spoke with, and the majority, and these are mainstream denominations and ministries, they don't use alternate dispute resolution. Even their dispute resolution process is a judicial process, whether it's a board, whether it's one person that makes the decision. And so it's a judicial process. And so I was able to give a proposal for how to incorporate
Mhm.
mediation as a means, specifically within the faith based community, of solving issues without having to go and fight about things in court. What it does when we take our things out into the court is that then puts a blemish on the testimony that
Right.
can go forth of believers, and those who don't believe will say, well, what's the point of me even believing? Y'all are fighting in court and doing all this stuff just like we are. So
Right.
what's the difference? So that's a major point as well of trying to incorporate faith-based mediations, whether it's um, a denomination, whether it's just a ministry that needs some help in working through some some problem solving or conflict resolution, as well as offering that opportunity to individuals who may be having a dispute and they don't necessarily want to go to court to fight about it. Maybe there's a way we can sit down and try to come up with some sort of resolution that's going to make it so that everyone is accepting of it. A truly successful mediation is one where no one gets everything that they want, but everyone gets something that they can live with. And that's kind of what the focus is.
That's an amazing point. As you were speaking, I was thinking about what you said about how people don't like it when Christians fight,
Hmm.
and they don't, and
Hmm.
they look to us to have those types of skill sets, and many of us do not. We could
Hmm.
spend the rest of this broadcast just talking about a lot of people who don't have the conflict resolution skills,
Mhm. Mhm.
or their only conflict resolution skill is to scream and yell at each other or
Mhm.
shut down and say nothing. I mean, you know what I'm saying?
Mhm.
And the problem is not resolved.
Mhm.
So I'm
Mhm.
excited about having someone who can help us,
Mhm. Mhm.
who
Yeah.
can really help us.
And part of, as I mentioned, previously in my former life, I was a regional training manager, and so I did training and developed training materials and different things like that. Oftentimes, I think about what a benefit it would be to do more of the conflict resolution and alternate dispute resolution training for even young people. So you see all of these different things in the news about uh, people resolving matters by fights or guns or different things like that. But to start even as children or as youth to say, hey, there's a different way to solve this problem, and let it carry over even into adults, because it's not just the young people that are using guns to
Right.
address their issues. It's also some adults who are using that as their conflict resolution. So to be able to have more of those types of sessions where training is taking place, where you can start even when they're younger to say, what can we do other than, hitting someone? What can we do other than taking a gun out? Or what can we do other than yelling and screaming and trying to reach some sort of resolution? Because you're not listening to each other when you're yelling and screaming. You're just yelling and screaming and making noise.
And you're not listening to each other when you're not talking to each other either. So
Mm-hmm.
the problem doesn't go away. It just kind of sits there and everybody's festering.
Mm-hmm.
This is so important for us because people need to understand how. It's the how to do it.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
I believe that people want to resolve problems. I think they want to resolve their conflicts, but they don't necessarily know how. It's
Right.
not their strength. I don't see it on many agendas in my area. It's certainly not taught in a lot of churches.
Mm-mm.
And I believe it is something, that would be really cool to have as a seminar.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Absolutely. Absolutely. And um, it has to be some buy-in that's there as well.
Mm.
Again, you have some people who are used to doing things a certain way, and no, we didn't talk about things like this, and we didn't do that, and it's this new age stuff of trying to go through and talk it out. The role of a mediator or even an arbitrator or someone in that role as an alternate dispute resolution practitioner, their role is to help everyone hear each other.
Gotcha.
Their role, especially with that of a mediator, is to help you hear each other and then to make recommendations for compromise. It's similar, and it's actually been going on, not necessarily in the church, but in other areas. I know that one of my professors, she actually was a part of the Olympic committee that handled disputes. So if there was an issue with uh, one athlete, and maybe they may have offended someone in some other way, or they didn't follow necessarily all the rules, instead of them going the route of going before whatever the board was, they would have these mediators that would come in and try to resolve the issue. Sometimes you'll find that even in politics, or even with countries in different disputes, they'll have people that go in and try to help to negotiate. And so it's not something that most people have seen, because the norm has been, let's just fight about it, let's just argue, and I'm right and you're wrong, and that's it.
Hmm.
But maybe everyone's right, maybe everyone's wrong, and there's a happy medium you can get to.
Wow. Okay, so my time's flying. You're gonna
Mhm.
have to come back. So how can we get in contact with you? I want to talk about this mediation a little bit more because I just really feel like that is probably one of your special callers. I can see you sitting
Mhm.
and really helping people hear
Mhm. Mhm.
what they need to hear.
Mhm.
Because when
Mhm.
you're arguing with each other or yelling, you're not hearing.
Not at all.
And even when you've completely shut down, nobody's listening.
Mhm.
To have
Mhm.
someone help you, I think that's priceless.
Mhm. Absolutely.
I think families need that.
Mhm.
A lot of families need
Mhm. Mhm. Absolutely. And too often what happens is families who are in the midst of dispute, one person or the other will go and speak maybe with a attorney or speak with their friends, or they'll Google things, and they won't even know that there's a possibility of reaching a resolution totally outside of the confrontational aspect of it. Because sometimes what happens is once you listen, what you thought was the issue is not really the issue. And it's something small. I know oftentimes we've had mediations, and I tell clients, you will be surprised at the power of an apology. Sometimes people are going through this and they go to the extreme of being so confrontational because all they really want to hear is the other person say genuinely, I am sorry I hurt you. I
Wow.
am sorry that I did this to you. I have been in situations in mediations where the other person says, genuinely, now, not just saying it to be saying it, I apologize. I didn't realize that that hurt you so much.
Wow.
And it just softens the atmosphere so much more that you're able to get resolution. They don't really care about the forks and the spoons and the knives and the pictures on the walls. All they really wanted was that apology. So now the atmosphere is more conducive for a resolution.
They wanted the acknowledgement of the pain that they were feeling
Hmm.
and the pain that you caused them. I call it the collateral damage
Hmm. Hmm.
from the argument or from the unresolved issue,
Hmm.
allowing them to say, I just need for you to apologize to me. Own
Hmm.
it.
Right.
Millennials say, you need to own that
Yeah, exactly.
and own it. And it just, even just as I'm thinking now, there's a scenario that's in my head. Once somebody says, I blew it. I'm sorry.
Hmm. Hmm.
We settle down.
Hmm. Exactly.
But getting to
Exactly.
the I blew it stage is not easy.
Yeah. And that's where that pride comes in, honestly. No one wants to be wrong. No, if you have to apologize, then that means something you did was not correct. And we, I think, place a lot more importance on ourselves. So how dare us have to say that we didn't do this right? And there are people who I've dealt with that they're just like, no, I'm not going to apologize. They don't need an apology from me. And I'm like, okay, recognize you would save yourself a lot of money, a lot of heartache, a lot of drama. If you can find it within yourself to recognize that whether you intended for it to hurt this person or not, it did.
He did. And that's the truth. And the Bible
Mhm.
talks about how the truth sets us free.
Mhm.
So there's the
Absolutely.
miracle of a lot of things happening simply because you're able to say, I'm so sorry.
Mhm.
you know, it makes you feel weird though to say I'm sorry.
Yeah. Yeah.
I mean, to be truthful, we're like, oh my God,
Mhm.
just to get the words out, it's
Right.
hard.
Right.
Sometimes you have to write them down and send a text because
Mhm.
it is hard,
Mhm.
but it's
Exactly.
needed.
Exactly. But these are the kinds of things that you uncover when you're trying to negotiate, and when you have that third party neutral that it has no ties to either person. So, I don't have a dog in this fight. I'm just here to try to help you guys come up with a resolution. And I think even, in North Carolina, in our court systems, the realization has been there that there is power in that mediation. There's some counties that even in their courtrooms, they have volunteer mediators who are there prepared to talk with people who have actions there in court. But maybe it's a situation that if they just have somebody to try to help them walk through their one issue, they may be able to get a resolution without having to bring it in front of a judge.
You can see that being so powerful if the person feels like they don't have a voice. A lot of people are shy,
Hmm.
they're not accustomed to managing their emotions.
Hmm.
So they may shut down, and having that mediator come in and give them their voice, that can just change your entire scenario.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
I'm absolutely loving it. So how can we get in contact with you?
So I do have a website, and my website is www.kelly_familylaw.com. So you can reach me there. There's a link there that is a contact link. In addition, I do have an email address, which is Kelly Law. It's Kelly Law 10 at frontier.com. And you can also access that from the website as well as the phone number for my office, 919 And so that's how I can be reached. And if I'm not there or if I'm in a court, You can
Leave a message.
definitely leave a message, and I will respond also to those emails. I'm a one-person show.
Okay.
So aside from interns, and I did want to mention something about that about my interns. It's just me that's doing all of the different things, which people get surprised when they're like, "Oh, you're the attorney and you're answering your phone," and I'm like, "Yeah, I like to connect with my clients." But
Wow.
one of the other things that I also like to do is I always like to pour into those up and coming attorneys. So I partner with Central's Law School, and I will typically have at least one intern every semester and in the summer. And that intern gets to come, and they not only get an opportunity to kind of see how you run a practice, but my goal is for them to experience some of the things that you don't learn in school. And I think back to when I first got started, and Central did a great job in preparing us and making sure that we were ready to be there. But there are some things that they just couldn't teach us because you had to actually live it. And I want to be able to impart that into those up and coming attorneys. And so I'll typically have interns that will come through, and I tell them, I said, look, I'm not a hand holder. So you let me know if you need some help. And I'm just going to keep piling it on you because my goal is that throughout this semester or this summer, you get exposed to a lot of things. So I may have interns that are in with me and give them that opportunity to learn what it means to be an attorney. And I've had several interns that have come through, and then I touch base with them later, and they've passed the bar. Some have gone to other states. Some are still within the state, and we just, maintain contact one with another to just make sure that all is well. I had the pleasure just the past few weeks of being there and introducing what my intern from last year to the court so that she could take her oath. And I was there holding the Bible for her as she was taking her oath of being sworn in as a new attorney. So that was a new experience for me. And I was like very proud. And now she is off in Monroe somewhere as an attorney.
Because of you using all of those gifts that God has given you, the training and all of those things to help someone else. We're going to scroll
Mhm.
your website again so that
Mhm.
we can, because we'll get your email on the website, get
Yes.
the phone number on the website. So that's like a
Yes.
one-stop shop for us. So
Exactly.
I'm just happy. That's why your name popped up in my head
Mhm.
very shortly after we decided to do this show, because this has been amazing. I probably love definitely the attorney and the faith base. I also love the fact that you're talking about being your wife, you're a mom, you love the young people. You just wear so many hats and you bring all of that to the table, but you're kind of calm about it. I mean, you're just real chilled. I mean, just chilled. And that just makes me feel good. I know I would probably just love having you just sit and talk because your spirit just really chilled.
Well, I mean, it truly is a blessing, and I look at the opportunities that God gives me as a way to kind of cross over some things. Because I think one of the things I don't even know if you know this is that I'm also in school, so I'm working on my Master of Divinity,
Uh-huh.
and this will be master's number 3 because I got my JD, and then I did a Master of Arts in Youth and Family Ministry, and then a Master of Science in Health and Wellness with a focus on Christian ministry. And now I'm working on my Master of Divinity. And in each of those, God has given opportunity for me to take what I am learning, not only to apply it within the church, within any ministry I'm a part of, but also within my practice. And it's like full circle. It's a holistic approach to everything. And it just kind of shows us that God cares about every aspect of our lives. So we can serve Him in our jobs, we can serve Him in our homes, in our churches, in every area, and even as we're interacting with people. One of the other things you mentioned about the young people is that
Yeah.
one of the things that's my heart is the young people, and more specifically, and one of the things that we've done for years is coordinated youth mission trips. And so that are we have young people that maybe have never traveled outside of the state of North Carolina, and we give them an opportunity to go, and we give an opportunity for them to go different places and to give back. when you see the look on those young people's faces when they are in places helping people who are disadvantaged to rebuild their homes,
Wow.
to do landscaping, to paint, people who may just not be able to afford it, and we're going in different places. And we've had some young people that never have traveled anywhere. We had a group, we got a chance to go to Puerto Rico one
Wow.
year,
Wow.
and it was right after the hurricane. So just given that opportunity to pour into young people so that they could be the hands and feet of Jesus, but also to see that there's a way that you can incorporate your faith in your job as well.
That's amazing. I told you you wore so many hats. Have a long list of all the things you do, and you wear it well. We're getting down to the end of my show, and our show, and I always ask, will you come back? Because I'm sure I have more to talk about, but we're almost done. But
Mhm,
just all of this has just been so just informational, and just I really am grateful to know
mhm,
that we have someone like you, just a phone call away, just a
mhm,
website away, just an email away to help us, because I know we probably would have made better decisions if we had someone like you in our lives. I know that.
mhm,
I know
mhm.
many of us can say that. So I'm loving it. We're at the end, but we're going to have to say goodbye. And at this particular time, I say the same thing,
Mhm,
attorney, minister, Kelly.
mhm,
I say to everyone that you have to trust the process
mhm,
in order for the power of transformation to do its perfect work in your life.
mhm,
That's what I say at the end of the show. You have to trust the process. You have
mhm,
to trust you, trust the God in you in
mhm,
order for it to work. So I'm excited about that. Now, we do have a replay. So I
mhm.
know folks who are in Bible study, when they get out of Bible study, they'll look at the recording. But also on Saturday, we'll have a replay of this wonderful broadcast at 2 o'clock p.m. Eastern Standard Time. So share, share, share. We have a lot of work to do,
Yes.
Attorney Minister or Minister Attorney Kelly, and God is giving you that gift, and I'm proud of you. I'm glad to know you.
Well,
So,
thank you.
okay, that's all we have for today. And definitely, we're going to see you next time, next week. Come back to see us, and we'll have another amazing guest for the power of transformation. Take care, everybody.